You're listening to the audio production of A Reluctant Queen, The Love Story of Esther, by Joan Wolf, published by Thomas Nelson and read by Sarah Zimmerman. For my dear friend Edith Leighton Felber, I miss you. About language. The languages spoken by the characters in this book would have been Persian or Aramaic. What you are reading is a translation into modern English. Chapter 1. 485 B.C. Esther rose early, as usual. She dressed in her brown robe and overtunic, fitted her veil over her long black hair, and went out to the courtyard behind her uncle's house to begin making the day's bread, more than she and her uncle needed because she gave some to the old women in their community every day. By the time Mordecai came into the courtyard, she had kneaded the dough and set the loaves out to rise. "Tired, Uncle?" Esther asked in a teasing tone as she saw Mordecai yawn. "The great king's feast kept you up late last night?" Mordecai smiled ruefully. "Far later than I care to be out, chicken, but I had no choice. All of the palace staff was invited, and the head treasurer would have noticed if I did not appear for the king's birthday." He took a seat on the bench at the small table in the courtyard, and Esther began to assemble their breakfast. The plates contained dates and figs and slices of yesterday's bread, which Esther had warmed in the outdoor oven. She fetched cups of water from inside the house. Mordecai said the blessing over the food, and silence fell as they ate. Esther waited until her uncle had finished before she spoke again. She and her friends were all curious about the new king, Ahasuerus, who had only recently arrived in Susa, the capital of the Persian Empire. It had been a huge surprise 2 years ago when the old king, Darius, had chosen him over his other son, Xerxes, and it made him an intriguing figure. But the real reason for the girls' interest was the gossip they had heard in the marketplace, that the king was the most handsome man who ever lived. Unfortunately, the Jewish girls who made up Esther's circle would probably never have an opportunity to see this paragon for themselves, but they hoped that Esther's uncle might have seen him at the feast. "Did you get to see the king, Uncle?" Mordecai pushed his plate a little away from him. "No, Esther, I did not. We menials were crowded into the appanada while the king and the royal kin dined inside in splendor. But I must say that we were treated well. There were huge quantities of meat and fowl, horse—"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?